What's up? This is Tom. We already talked about potentially trading Mitch Garver. We already talked about potentially trading Luis Arraez. And in both of those videos, I mentioned how I wasn't really interested in getting rid of those dudes. I have two of my favorite players on the Twins, but I felt like they were a couple players who the Twins could trade and get some fixes to the rotation on. A couple of guys that have a lot of value. Guys who are kind of earlier in their careers, they're still relatively inexpensive. They have multiple years of team control. Guys like that are very valuable on the trade market. Let's talk about a couple of guys who might not be quite as valuable, but I wanted to take a minute to think, okay, those are two guys that I don't really want to see leave the Twins, from a fan's perspective especially. Those are just two guys that I really like watching them, like having them around. Who are the two guys on the Twins that if they were traded away, that I would sort of feel less sting about? Who are the two guys on the team who I would not feel bad about trading away for whatever reason, whether it's, maybe I don't think they're going to be that good, or just, maybe they've stalled out. And that's probably a better way to put it with these two guys. I feel like these two players have kind of stalled out in Minnesota. I don't know where there is to go. I'm not all that interested in investing in them beyond their current contracts that they have with the team. So it kind of seems like, well, if there's not a long-term and longer than what they already have on the books, why not trade these guys? And those two guys are Miguel Sano and Max Kepler. I'm not saying let's run these guys out of town or that I don't think they have any value or anything like that. But, that's it. I would feel less sting about seeing those guys leave than guys like Mitch Garver and Luis Arraez. Miguel Sano, we all know he hits the ball harder than anybody in baseball. The strikeouts are a problem, but he was a very productive player in the second half last year. And with the way 2020 went and how early 2021 went, whenever anybody would talk about trading Miguel Sano, I would be like, well, he has negative trade value. So what are you going to do? I think that it might have shifted in the second half to where now Miguel had such a good second half. He's always had those metrics where, he hits the ball about as hard as anybody in baseball. You could see where a team looking for a right-handed power hitter, which, that's something the Twins need, to be honest, especially without Nelson Cruz around. So Miguel does fit into what the Twins are at right now. But I guess the thing with him is you never know where the bottom's coming. I just don't trust him to put together a full season at this point. But I'm not really all that interested in kind of keeping him around longer than his current contract is, So it's kind of at that point to where, I don't know, it could make a lot of sense for the Twins to trade him. And there might be certainty. I don't know that he has a ton of trade value. I don't want to make, he's not bringing back a top of the rotation starter. These would be trades that are more of like a refresh. Like, hey, we've had this same core together for so long. Let's try something different. Let's get a different mix in here and maybe shop on the free agent market for those positions instead. Because this is a very deep free agent class. And Max Kepler, it's kind of been frustrating on his part because he's failed to make any kind of adjustments to improve his batting average on balls in play, which in turn improve his batting average. But Max, if you look from an outside perspective, Max Kepler does everything pretty well, except for hit for average, basically. He's got good power. He always has good hard hit rates. He's great in the field. He runs the bases well. He has above average speed. If you look at his baseball savant slider, it's very impressive. It's like all red. And again, not trying to say I don't think he's a valuable piece or trying to run him out of town, but I think he's sort of maxed out, for lack of a better term. He just hasn't been improving. The things that are a problem with his swing continue to be a problem, and I don't know that he's not interested in changing or if he's just not able. Maybe I'm sure that he's been provided information and people have talked to him about things he could try changing, but it is, and both of those guys, you could see scenarios in which Sano or Kepler get traded away and absolutely go off. Both these guys have had great seasons in the past. It's not like it's some kind of, I think these guys are bums and I don't think that it could come back to bite the Twins, but if this organization is interested in sort of doing a refresh, again, mixing things up, trying to get a different mix into this team, those are two guys that I could see trading off and kind of starting over at those positions. And let's be honest, corner, outfield, first base, those are maybe the two easiest positions to fill in all of baseball. So, you have internal candidates. You've got, obviously Kirilloff and Larnach didn't really show as much as I think they could last year, but there's more and more guys coming up through the pipeline in those positions as well. Jose Miranda played a lot of first base, although, he's going to be more valuable as a second baseman or a third baseman. But hey, you get that bat into the lineup and see what happens, is my perspective on that. So, the vibe I get is that most Twins fans would probably agree with me that those guys would sting a little less, but play along with me here. If you could pick two Twins players to trade away, established, not bench guys, not relievers or whatever, middle relievers, two established Twins guys who we think are going to be a big part of next year's team to trade away, who would you pick? Would it be Sano and Kepler, or are there two other guys that you're thinking about? Thanks for checking this out. We'll talk again soon. I'm going to be talking about Rule 5 draft stuff pretty soon here, and I think you guys are going to like it. So make sure to check that out.